I'm Commander Shepard, and Oops All Movies is my favorite podcast on the Citadel.
Welcome back to Oops All Movies. This is episode 128. I'm Joe Woody.
I'm Neil Lewis.
And I'm Steve Clark.
And joining us once again is Kat Jovey from 3 Kilobytes.
Hey guys.
Although it must be said that unfortunately Tom Cruise is not in this movie playing a character named Jack.
Yep.
That so far has been like the commonality with Kat's appearances. So we're getting away from that, but that might be for the best.
By the way, new music this week is by Something for Rockets. I talked with Josh from the band. They've been generous in letting us use their music for the show.
Yeah, you can find more of their music at somethingforrockets.com.
All right, so we're going to do Elysium this week, as we kind of hinted at we might do with Kat.
Right.
Matt Damon plays artificially enhanced person guy.
Yeah.
So who's your favorite cyborg-esque type character in a movie?
I think this is a pretty easy one. Iron Man.
Oh, well,
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
Iron Man, come on. He's like as far as like this generation of movies, he is like the enhanced human being.
Especially the Iron Man 3 version of Tony Stark, when he's literally injecting stuff into his body.
Sure, right.
Yeah, my answer is going to be the Borg Queen from Star Trek
Nice.
First Contact. Is played by Alice Craig. That just to me, I mean, you say cyborg, I mean, that's what instantly comes to my mind is the Borg from First Contact. And Alice Craig in that movie probably plays one of the best Star Trek villains.
100%. She's amazing in that.
And she gets her spine ripped out.
She does. That she does.
I'll give 2 because obviously it's Darth Vader.
Oh, God.
No,
Obviously.
but that's just too obvious. So I'm going to go with Dr. Octavius from Spider-Man 2.
And potentially you'll be able to use that answer again when they inevitably reboot
let's not
Doc
go there.
Ock in the Amazing Spider-Man films.
Let's not go there.
I hope they just pick the same actor.
They'll
What's his
just
name?
use
Oh, cool.
Alfred Molina again. Yeah.
Well,
Anyway.
let's get over that. Kat, what's your answer?
So Darth Vader and the Borg Queen were definitely on my list, but since
Okay.
those are taken, I'm gonna definitely have to go with Roy Batty from Blade Runner, Rutger Hauer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he was a replicant. I mean,
They are
I
organic.
looked it up actually because
Okay.
I'm that intense, and he is a mix of organic and mechanical. So
Like a
he
clone,
counts, and he was a
so.
badass. Oh, he was so great in that last speech.
Oh, he was. It's one of the great performances in any science fiction film ever. Definitely unforgettable work by Hauer in that picture.
By the way, if anybody's hearing some guy mowing their lawn right now, you're not going crazy.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, we're here in Neill's suburban compound.
yeah.
Anyways.
Oh, you know what? I was not here last week. However, I listened to the episode, and I have to say, guys, you were talking about the Smurfs, okay? First of all, Papa Smurf didn't create Smurfette. Gargamel did. She was sent in as Gargamel's evil spy with the intention of destroying the Smurf village. But the overwhelming goodness of the Smurf way of life transformed her. So I had to point that out. And, also, Smurfs are asexual. They don't even have reproductive organs under those white little pants.
So why does Smurfette have boobs then?
I don't know. I mean, that's what's so logical about being a Smurf. I mean, what's the point of living if you don't have a dick? That's a monologue that Jake Gyllenhaal delivers.
Oh, is
Yes.
it?
Yes.
In Donnie Darko, he's talking about the Smurfs and
Yes.
Smurfette.
One thing I did happen to find, I was in the bathroom and looking down using the urinal, I saw there was something laying underneath the urinal, and it looked like a hard drive of some sort.
Whoa, mysterious hard drive. There could be anything on there.
I know.
I'm going to dust this thing off, and I'll see if I can find anything for next week.
Just make sure you have on some plastic gloves. I may have
Yeah.
peed on it a little bit.
So, Neil, what are the box getters this week?
Opening at number 1, we have Elysium.
Not a surprise.
It hasn't been getting the best of press.
No, but it's a summer action movie, so. And
Everyone's been
it's
waiting
Matt
for it.
Damon.
We Are the Millers is at number 2.
Oh, jeez. Never considered that shit for sure.
See, I have to admit, I don't think that movie, I haven't seen reviews for that movie, but it didn't look terrible. I thought that the trailers were okay. I think that...
I think it looks awful.
I wouldn't say that at all.
I wouldn't be
that,
opposed to seeing it, but I wouldn't spend money on it.
Yeah, the premise sounds horrible. The trailer did make it look like there were funny parts. I'd wait for it on Netflix, maybe.
Well, number 3, Joe, will be right up your alley. Planes, the movie. I think it's just Planes, I guess.
Planes, the sequel to Cars.
But it's not by the same studio, so... It's just by Disney Studio as opposed to Pixar.
Oh, I was going to say,
it's
well,
not
it
a
has to
Pixar
be.
film.
Okay. And it is a Cars thing. I mean, it's like...
Yeah, in the same universe, yeah. It's from the company that brought you Cars. Number 4, we have Percy Jackson, Sea of Monsters. The movie everybody forgot that was coming out.
Yeah, when did that other one come out? Like, it seems like a long time ago.
9,000 years ago?
Yeah, I want to say it was like 4 years or something.
But yeah, I say, I mean, like this I did see this trailer several times in front of movies that we've seen for the podcast, and this very much looks like a Harry Potter ripoff, even more so than the first film did. You know, and this just lots of the imagery struck me is very derivative. So I don't know. Either way, I mean, the film finished 4th, so it obviously didn't make that much of a splash. No pun intended. So
it did have a Nathan Fillion cameo.
Right.
So.
Fillion. Yeah, I forgot about that.
What is he doing?
I don't know. Well, I guess he's bored with castles.
That did instantly interest me in this movie. The fact that Fillion was in it. I mean, I'm not like the biggest like Firefly fanboy on earth, but he is always fun to watch, and I'm sure he was probably fun to watch in this.
Anyways, Two Guns is at number 5.
So you know, it's kind of I guess it's sticking around. I mean,
well, it's only in its second week and it's at 5. So
well, at least it's still in the top 5, I guess.
It did beat out the Smurfs 2, which is not even in the top 5. So.
Oh yeah, I'll applaud that.
It was at number 6, but
we're
done. We're done.
There's really nothing else to add.
All right, so we're going to do Elysium. What's this one about?
Set in the year 2154, where the very wealthy live on a man-made space station while the rest of the population resides on a ruined Earth, a man takes on a mission that could bring equality to the polarized worlds.
Oh boy. All right, well, before we get started here, let's roll the dice. Describe the movie, Neil.
6. Glad I didn't do IMAX.
Yeah.
This is a IMAX movie that
Not in 3D.
Yeah, we could have saw in 2D, and I've been waiting for a long time to see a 2D IMAX movie, and so I've been wanting to see one, and I was like, should we? Probably not.
Didn't want to waste that money.
6. It is this year's Total Recall.
Okay.
Oh.
Fair enough.
Unimaginably imaginative.
Okay.
I think that it is stuff we've seen before, but I also think there's some kind of interesting stuff going on.
That it's at least it's familiar things that are reconstituted in a pleasing way, a fresh way. One could say. Okay.
So that's where I'm going with that. Kat.
I got 6.
Oh man.
Not what I was hoping for.
So it's almost like, Kat, of course, your last episode was Oblivion. So it's as if we're having a redux of Oblivion, because that frankly is kind of how
we could just stop here and replay the Oblivion.
We're almost getting to that point. Because I did say this film reminded me of Total Recall. I'll expound more on that in a minute, but I think that one could also bring up, the aforementioned Oblivion, and one could also bring up Prometheus. These are science fiction films that I think we all had high expectations for, and I would say that they didn't deliver on those expectations really at all.
Yeah, and
Prometheus was disappointing, Oblivion was disappointing, and Elysium is disappointing too.
And I would say that this one is probably the most offensive.
I would agree. Well, offensive.
Not offensive, but the worst, the most disappointing.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I would agree with that.
And I didn't like Prometheus. Let's get that straight.
I mean, I did like Prometheus. I thought Oblivion was disappointing. I think this is more disappointing than any of those that you named.
Oh, yeah. I think we're all on the same page with that. Kat, what do you think?
100%. I mean, at least in Oblivion, like, Tom Cruise killed it acting-wise.
Oh,
and
right,
it was beautiful.
Yeah.
I thought Matt Damon did all right in this, though.
He did all right, but I felt like someone may have done it better. I can't think of who, but I felt like I wasn't fully believing that.
Eminem.
No,
Okay.
that's a joke, but he was up for the role.
In
Was
fact,
he?
in
Marshall
fact,
Mathers?
Yeah, Marshall Mathers. Yeah, Eminem was Neill Blomkamp's first choice for this movie.
I will stand on an island and say that would have been a better choice than Matt Damon.
No.
I think
What?
I think it
No.
would have been interesting.
One of the biggest problems I have with this movie is that Matt Damon is supposed to be this badass who is like the kindest badass you'll ever meet.
Like he's supposed to steal cars and has all these tattoos and blah blah blah. Like Matt Damon is like the boy next door. It's just not going to be believable.
Right, exactly. And he's
Yeah.
like he's no, sometimes he curses every once in a while, but that's like the most quote unquote badass that we see him
But
do.
also, was he really a good fighter or not? Because he keeps getting hurt. That's for sure.
Yeah,
He's
and
not
he's
that
like, and he
good.
doesn't do anything bad. Like he's like a really well-hearted guy, which I understand. Like maybe he had a character change, but we never see him like do anything that like that hints to this past of being like basically a gangbanger. I mean, that's why I think even what the what's his name calls him.
Julio.
Or Julio or Spider, one of those like gang characters. So,
Which made it harder than when he was fighting Kruger to believe that he would stand a chance against a guy that's clearly had military training for years.
Well, what it reminds me
wouldn't.
of, it's literally almost identical to Superman and Michael Shannon's character in Man of Steel. Where you get Clark Kent, who's ostensibly a regular guy who gets gifted with these extraordinary powers, and then you've got Zod, who is this military guy who gets these extraordinary powers. So it stands to reason that he'll be even more of a badass.
Except Matt Damon has only had those powers for like a day longer.
Right. Well, although I would say though that Kruger probably would be more adept at using.
Well, to be fair though, if you think about it, Matt Damon, who's this hard ass street thug, would have not had those powers. So he kind of like when he has these powers, he'd kind of have this extra power that he wouldn't be used to. So he'd kind of give everything with his extra force. The Kruger could have been complacent with having these extra powers, just overpowering everyone.
I don't know. I mean,
either way,
it's definitely an interesting thing to talk about because I think there is like at least a slight parallel there.
Sure, no, there definitely is.
To Man of Steel and to like that climactic battle there. But
except the one in this movie is way shorter and seems kind of
needless.
Well, no, it just seems kind of thrown in there. Like there's no build up. That's what I'm getting at.
Sure,
they had to have that last showdown between the good guy and the bad guy.
It just sort of happens. You're like, oh, well, this part's happening now. One comes out one door and the other one comes out the other door, and then they fight and whatever.
Did you guys like Coldplay in this role as opposed to last time where he was like, went from rags to riches in a sense of strength and badassery?
Absolutely. I think he can do no wrong.
Yeah, I think, as I said earlier, just as Rutger Hauer was the strength of Blade Runner, I think that Sharlto Copley is probably the strength here, at least as far as the cast goes, if not the whole movie itself. He's just so slimy and he's so interesting to watch in this role. He's obviously having a great time here.
Yeah. And he plays the psychopath very well.
I mean, he does. Yeah, that is kind of it's a role that he's kind of played before in the A-Team, where as Murdoch, he was kind of the unhinged member of that team.
Right.
So it's fun to kind of see Copley kind of continue this trend of kind of playing these like slightly off kilter characters.
I wouldn't say this guy's slightly off.
Well, this guy is like it is totally off his rocker if you want to split hairs. Yeah. But I think that it's a great job by costuming and makeup-ing when it comes to the character of Kruger. He just has that. I mean, it looks like you just don't even want to be near this guy because he looks so sick. I mean, it looks like he smells terrible. He's got one of the most disgusting film beards of all time, I think.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it just looks he needs to go get it groomed or something.
He's barbecuing some meat on his roof.
Right.
What was Jodie Foster doing?
She was supposed to be French, and it made it horrible. She's usually a great actress, but all you could hear was this horrible accent.
I've never had
weird.
I've never had a problem with her before. Like, I think
she was bad in this movie.
Yeah,
like,
I think she's bad. I think she's a decent actress, and I'm gonna say I think this is the worst performance we've ever seen on the show. I think this. Well,
it's not.
Well, wait. in a respectable movie. I have to qualify with that.
That's always a qualifier we have to use.
In a movie that's trying, in a movie that's serious, like it has serious characters, and she is supposed to be like a serious bad guy, right? And it's just awful. It's awful.
Right.
And it doesn't help that the character is written terribly. It is some of the worst dialogue I've ever heard.
Yeah,
it's
really
awful.
is.
It's so awful.
It's brutal, and then with the accent, it makes you feel like maybe if she just didn't speak in the accent, she could maybe sell these lines a bit better.
Well,
What
she
is she
kept
thinking?
Well, the thing is, she kept like mugging the camera too. Like she'd say like these evil things and kind of smirk and like half close her eyes,
kind of like wink.
But I think though that dialogue is just so bad. I mean, when she's talking to, for instance, the Farhan Tahir character who plays President Patel, she's like, "Don't you have a fundraiser to go to?" I mean, like the speech
bad.
that she gives to him, like pretty early on in the film, right? Mm-hmm. That is probably like the dorkiest monologue I've ever heard. It's so bad.
The whole plot of this movie, and like at times the way this was shot was like just like a video game.
Awful.
You had this like video games aren't really known for having like the greatest dialogue, especially like action games like this. If you made this movie into a game, that's what it would be. You've got like this really over the top villain that carries around a samurai sword in the future. Yeah. I mean, this is like what 2150 or something like that.
2154. Yeah.
Okay, so. Yeah, it's like, it's 2154, and he's carrying around a samurai sword.
I'm like, okay with that. Also, didn't his shield thing come out of that?
I don't know.
I don't recall.
I think that was the deal. Like his shield. Remember his shield that he had? Like deflected bullets.
Which was never explained. Just magic shield.
Well,
it's just futuristic technology, I guess.
Sci-fi technology. I don't have a problem with that. But like, I think it was like when he held his sword or something.
It was weird. There was one scene in particular right after the initial battle scene where we have the plane or spacecraft being taken down by Matt Damon and his group.
Okay.
There's a scene where like it literally goes into third person video game mode.
Yes.
Where it literally like. It even has the fake motion blur that like modern video games have, and it's like, what are you doing? Like it had like this weird thing where it was following him at this like perfect like distance from him. So when he moved, like the camera moved with him at this like perfect distance.
Yeah.
And when he turned his head, the camera turned and it put on this like obviously fake motion blur. I was like, are we watching like a PlayStation 4 demo reel? What is going on? It was like so weird.
As someone who reviews video games, didn't that just stick out to you so
100%, 100%. Moments like that, you're just thinking like, were they wanting to put out a video game with this movie at the same time, or what's happening here?
Well, it's very apparent that he was at one time going to make the Halo movie that didn't happen.
Right.
And for a lot of reasons too, like some of the design going on. Looks kind of like District 9, but obviously with Elysium being this like ring,
the Halo
world,
from Halo.
It's Halo. It's literally Halo. It's a ring world. Like it's kind of like the Citadel too, I guess, from Mass Effect. But dude, you can't tell me that he didn't sign on to the Halo project and look at the concept art and stuff and like not be inspired by that. I mean, it's literally Halo.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's really a problem with that per se, but I mean, are there parallels between this and Halo? I mean, absolutely.
Yeah. Right, especially like the drop ship. The ships they fly in like are literally like one of them literally looks like the Pelican from like Halo. Like it's literally there's like no noticeable difference.
I wouldn't go that far.
Nah, it's like almost like a dead ringer. It's crazy.
Yeah, but overall, kind of that stuff aside, and I guess what I say with my dice roll, it's unimaginably imaginative. Yes, it's pulling things from stuff we've seen, but I think overall I was impressed by the movie visually.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I would agree with you on that. I mean, I think that Blomkamp does a pretty good job rendering this future world. Los Angeles in 2054, trash is just kind of strewn everywhere. It looks quite real. I mean, I have to really tip my hat to him for creating this really vivid world. Yeah. Just as Len Wiseman did for Total Recall. Mm-hmm. So there is that parallel there, kind of between those two films, that they're both set in these really great realistic environments, and furthermore, Yeah, Joe, kind of like you said. I mean, this the whole look of the film, not only just in terms of like, you know, where the scenes take place in, but like what the characters are wearing and stuff. Like I think like all of the mech suits that are in this, that, you know, that Max wears, that Kruger wears, that Kruger's henchmen wear, that all felt very fresh to me. I feel like we haven't seen that. I feel like we haven't seen stuff like that too much.
Normally
in
they
films.
were like full body armor, not like these exoskeleton type suits. That is interesting.
Correct. Yeah, so I did like that, and some of the weaponry they used felt fresh. I mean, I like
the weapons. I really did like that. That was some new
they were
stuff.
cool. They just tore like the flesh apart. Oh my gosh, it was insane.
Yeah,
It was called the Vapor Rail.
And he has like that automatic like electric.
That's what
laser.
that's what the laser electric. That was like the Vapor Rail.
Yeah, well, and then he has those bullets that like
explode.
Yeah.
Like a bomb, I guess, and like shred things.
I like that they were futuristic without looking too glossy. So it's actually believable that it could be in that many years from now.
Right. And that to me is definitely right in line with District 9. I like that Blomkamp is obviously he's more interested in shooting battles that don't just involve like people shooting each other with lasers. He makes those lasers really interesting.
Sure.
And he adds like a lot of flair and a lot of flavor to what the weapons can do in this, as well as in District 9. So I really like the imagination, kind of to borrow your word, Joe, that is kind of on display here. And I love that Blomkamp really just embraces that. I mean, he embraces the fact that Kruger has a shield, and that complicates things during battle scenes.
I love that.
You know, and I think most directors wouldn't go to that amount of trouble, right? We just would get, you know, laser battles where they're just like ducking behind bulkheads and shooting each other, and you know that's great, you know. But we've seen that before, and it's great to see Blomkamp kind of bring his imagination to bear on, you know, kind of like the quote unquote sci-fi action scene, and he does make some pretty fresh stuff up in this.
One thing Blomkamp apparently likes to do is blow people and things up, like with lots of like carnage.
Yeah,
because that was a big thing in like District 9, like when things like I can't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure like one of the aliens explodes.
And I think some of the people in that do too.
Explode. Okay, yeah, right, because the alien guns like make people explode, don't they, or something?
Something to that effect, right?
Right, and yeah, definitely lots of carnage, which is kind of strange because like the rest of the movie really, honestly, is not that violent. Like, I mean, there's not a lot here to really make it a rated R film, except for these extreme, like,
there's a lot of
violence.
Cursing. There's a lot of
Just
cursing.
the parts with Kruger are really, really violent, and then the rest is pretty casual.
It didn't really fit the rest of the film, and when it did happen, it was kind of like a little bit offsetting.
I didn't really have a problem
off-putting.
with it.
Yeah, I mean, I almost like that Blomkamp does that, because he shows that there are that these battles are of consequence. That people are getting hurt in these battles. It's not Star Trek where you're just getting stunned and you fall down, right?
Except there's this magic device that can literally heal anything.
Yeah, their med beds were pretty intense. Like, some of the injuries sustained, not wanting to spoil, there's no way that person still had brain activity, whatever.
No,
right, yeah,
and
right. I mean, it was a huge Deus Ex Machina.
And it's so instant too. Like, the girl has leukemia, and it's just, you know, scans her real quick. Hey, you're completely healed from a life.
Well, even in the trailer, it's like, hey, you've got cancer. Nope, you don't have cancer.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Oh.
Like the upload of the data to his computer thing in his head took
like Johnny Mnemonic or whatever.
Oh wow.
But that took like 10 times longer, or like 50 times longer than the healing thing.
It just basically, like, literally a magic wand is waved over them and they're healed.
A CAT scan takes longer than that.
Right.
Like, what? I know it's the future, but come on. Like, this is a thing that Neil really hates.
Oh, God,
like,
I fucking
magic
hated this.
technology type
Well,
stuff.
And I had a lot of problems with the technology in this film, because, like, if it is that easy to heal someone, like, apparently the world has devolved into, like, literally, like, the worst villains ever, because everyone has one of these in their homes.
Yeah.
They're obviously, like, not that expensive, because there's a scene at the end of the movie that says that, like, they're pretty, like, easy to make, or at least there's a shit ton of them.
Yeah.
Just
and, like,
sitting around, it looks like.
Exactly. So, like, why aren't they, like, why aren't these at least, like, maybe one in each hospital or something? Like, I understand.
On Earth.
Yeah, like, it's obviously not that big of a deal, and it's not like It's like
well, I mean, I think that is a good point, but I also think that kind of ties into the film's theme, where it's like the people of Elysium, they have such excess, but they don't share any of that excess with people who don't have it. And I think it's almost supposed to gin up some consternation on the audience's part.
It's so forced.
This
movie is like
way too heavy-handed and obvious.
Right. The political message here is like basically socialism is good. Everyone share their money, like things like that. And like it's literally like the people live on a completely different world, and all the poor people live in squalor. Like it's like. That's not.
I don't think it would happen.
It's not going to happen like that. Like that's something that's completely unbelievable.
Yeah, you would think there'd at least be some sort of activists or some people who felt bad to all the people on Earth on Elysium. Like, there's no way that all of those rich people are that big of assholes.
The one guy says, "Don't breathe on me."
Like, see,
and that's right there,
way too far. All these people on Elysium, Jodie Foster, and like that guy and everything. Like, oh, it's so over the top. Like, we're human beings, okay? Like, even if you don't like this person or you don't want to be in the same room with this person, you don't treat them like that. Like, it's so.
Well, everything about
caricatures.
Yes, no, exactly right, and because they are caricatures, something is lost in that, I think.
Right, you can have like one or two guys that are like that have this like crazy mansion and live in this complete opulence,
but we're led to believe that everyone that's up there is like that.
Right, and that like basically there's like probably I'd say like based on how big it is, like maybe 2 to 3 million people. Or something like close to that.
Maybe more than that, but
that's a pretty good estimate. Like, so we basically got like a lot of people, and then just like basically less than third world situations going on. It just like
on
seems
the whole planet
unbelievable. Like,
well, the bottom line is that this movie doesn't have a subtle bone in its body.
No.
Totally
and that was my biggest problem with it, and why I think it's ultimately a failure, is that when you watch District 9, I think all of the apartheid allegories in that are really nuanced and subtle. And with this, where the security peacekeeping force on Elysium is literally called Homeland Security, and they use the word immigrants quite
and illegals and
they use all of these buzzwords that are used today in regard to Mexico and North America and people.
Well, here's something that's
go ahead.
Really funny is that all the poor people spoke Spanish and all the rich people spoke French.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Here's the thing. When people always bring up this stuff, like with Avatar, it's been brought up and stuff, like all these political messages put into movies, I never have a problem with that. It never...
You can enjoy the movie on on a more surface level than.
And this is honestly one of the first times where it's been like, oh man, it's too obvious. Like,
they're just like rubbing it in your face.
I know,
like, shoving your head right in it.
No,
it was. You couldn't put any diversity in there. Something like this is 100 and whatever years in the future. It's like, come on, dude.
Right.
Way too much.
Yeah, it's almost like Blomkamp just got way too concerned with making a movie with like a capital M.
Right,
and trying to imbue this movie with a really big message.
Right,
make a documentary.
I was basically waiting for the mailman to appear from "Don't Be a Menace." It's obviously like a blaxploitation parody.
Sure,
but like there's a mailman that always pops up during these like quote unquote heartfelt moments where he just says, message."
So Kat, I mean, I think that the film, again, not having a subtle bone in its body, that you're certainly on the same page is we are with that. I mean, just talk a little bit about kind of how that affected you, I guess.
100%. I mean, constantly the movie just keeps having all these cliches and all these moments that keep bringing you out of it, keep reminding you that these are actors. They didn't get you invested like they did with his last movie. I mean, District 9, that whole time, at the beginning, at the whole movie, you felt sorry for his character and you were on his side and you were upset at the end, when he was getting hurt and stuff. In this, you weren't really attached to anyone because it was just them trying to get messages across constantly in crappy ways with terrible acting. And like even William Fichtner, who plays John Carlyle, like, oh my God, he's just such a cliche. And he has his special spaceship is like a Bugatti, basically.
Right, exactly.
Just like, oh my God.
Yeah, all of that stuff was just too much.
And like all the rich people have those tattoos, and they have like brand names tattooed on their face and stuff, like into their skin. What was with that?
That's cool. Yeah, what's really interesting comparing this directly to District 9 is that District 9 is a story about a privileged person helping out the downtrodden.
Right.
In this movie, it's the downtrodden uprising against like this evil thing, these evil greedy people, like caricatures of real people, and it's just like it doesn't feel authentic at all. So.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to see like Blomkamp rip himself off, but it would have been interesting to me to see someone from Elysium that basically gets stuck in Los Angeles.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have.
Well, it's like In Time or something.
No, exactly.
Well, sure.
That kind of would have been a parallel for sure, but I think that would have been interesting to see.
I have to say though, like the only person that I felt maybe a little bit attached to due to her good performance, I think was Alice Braga.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Like I thought she was really solid, but she was just surrounded by all this crap.
Yeah.
That you were like, well, I don't know, and you're sort of lost in the shuffle of crap.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
Well, the whole like there's so many plot conveniences is where like Matt Damon's character just gets bounced around to plot point to plot point. And, like, the whole plot point with this, like, it's said in the trailer, basically there's a sick child he needs to take up to Elysium. And, like the way that was melded into his story was, like, just to me felt really, really contrived and forced.
Yeah, it's like they didn't really know how to do it well, so they're like, "Oh, we'll just make this happen." That seems believable.
How about just this movie already has cliches. Just give us the cliche where he is the shining white knight and takes her with him.
Well, literally the last scene, I was waiting for like the scene out of The Matrix where Keanu Reeves is being carried out like he's on a cross. Like I was waiting. I was literally waiting for that to happen. Like when they were carrying out Matt Damon like he was on a cross. Like. The message at the end of the film was so
well,
weird.
and the hippos.
Yeah, that whole hippo story.
I think hippos are cool, man.
Well, yeah, just
where they kill people.
Just to
like
clarify,
one of the most violent animals.
No, they can be if you disturb them, but they are they're herbivores, Neil.
Okay.
Well, yeah, and we should say that is a reference to a story that Frey's daughter says like earlier in the film, and like Damon. Or Max, I should say, kind of brings it up there at the end of the picture to not much effect, I think. But to Kat's point about Alice Braga, I think that she's an actress who is just very comfortable in science fiction pictures. Because, this is an actress that was in I Am Legend.
Yeah, that's what
I was Predators.
Repo Man, Predators. So this is a genre that she has spent a lot of time in. I just think that she knows her way around in it pretty well, and I think that just as Copley gives a good performance in this, that Braga is pretty good too and does acquit herself well. The only other actor we really didn't touch on that I think probably deserves to be mentioned is Wagner Moura, who plays Spider.
Who cares?
And I didn't think he was terrible, but kind of this was a thing in this film, right? With actors and their delivery of lines. I didn't have a problem with the accent that Wagner Moura employed. It was more like his actual physical delivery,
sure,
where it was like really quick and truncated. It made him awfully hard to understand sometimes.
Well, and he just it felt like
it
felt really amateur. It made the actor seem like he was trying to overact and like overcompensate for poor dialogue. To me,
he's the zany computer guy.
Right. It felt like a performance out of Falling Skies.
The
TV show.
Yeah.
Like it felt like it's good, it's okay, but it belongs in like it's a lesser medium, like cable TV sci-fi show.
Right.
I think we're done.
All right.
Go ahead. Final thoughts, Neil.
I'm gonna give this movie a 4 out of 10.
Oh,
wow!
I think it's a less than average film. I have no desire to see this again. I think that like because the subtext isn't subtext and it's like it's so over the
text.
Right. It's so over the top and like so political. I was literally waiting for them after the movie scrolls like this political message like support
brought to you by the whatever convention or something.
Right, like basically
right.
Call this number to donate all of your money, you rich assholes.
Right.
But anyways, I think this movie also has a lot of moments where it has this great supposed to have this great emotional like moment that the movie never earns. And a lot near the end, the movie slows down. It kind of cuts back, like the audio, and plays like this really over the top thing where like a lot of choir in the background, and it honestly sounded like they cribbed the soundtrack from Avatar. Like these kind of like almost tribal, just kind of wailings.
Okay.
And it was like the movie never deserved those moments. There was never this emotional investment that you deserved, like these overly dramatic like scenes of like slow motion and these like great, choir voices in the background singing like these, I don't know, Latin phrases, I guess.
So are you referring to like the end of the film and like the conclusion with Max's character?
Right, yeah, and there's a couple scenes where he's also like thinking about the past, and it's like this like
yeah.
The movie just never earned that scene. Like to me that was like one of the most lasting images of just like these scenes that the movie never earned, and I just never got into anything at all. Yeah. Joe kind of briefly mentioned the technology. I could probably do a whole podcast on how this technology made no sense, but I'll spare everyone from that.
Yeah,
but like,
it was 100 years in the future.
But like none of it makes sense. And there's one scene in particular that I'll mention real quick. Is that there's a scene where he gets trapped underneath a car and he like basically like pulls open the car. The thing is he's doing that with his fingertips. His fingertips are never mechanically altered.
Right.
So he's literally just like with his fingertips grabbing onto this metal car frame and pulling it apart with his fingertips.
Right.
How does that work? Fucking magnets.
Those are not artificially enhanced. It's just his biceps.
Okay, well, he just... I guess they just made something up, and it just like it really upset me. So
I can tell.
4 out of 10.
Yeah, Yeesh. My score for this film is a 6.
Higher than I thought.
Yeah, it is to me. I think that may have been the exact same score that I gave Total Recall.
It is,
and I think that the films just are so similar to one another. Just if only in the fact that they both take place in such well realized environments, top notch production design. But in each film, that production design is in service of not much.
Yeah, but I would say that this compared to Total Recall is a much more fun film than this. I mean, you have a fight scene where Bryan Cranston and what's his name are like duking it out.
Also, it's about like going to this place to realize your fantasies, and you got 3 boob chicks, and
yeah. Let's be honest. Yeah, I mean, Len Wiseman was making a movie with a lowercase m.
Right.
Not like Blomkamp was trying to do here. So yeah, Neil, maybe you are on to something with that, but I think they are very comparable pictures at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Frankly, I think it's time to put away the anointing oil for Neill Blomkamp. I feel like as good as District 9 was, in the years that have followed, 2009, which is I believe is when that came out, it has been an overpraised film.
Sure.
And Blomkamp has been...
I agree with that. I totally
and Blomkamp has been an overpraised director. It's like, he made one film, it was pretty darn good, but, people were talking about him in hushed tones as if he was the next Steven Spielberg or Ridley Scott. It's like, hold on.
Right, like he was the next torchbearer for science fiction.
Exactly, and frankly, I think he was just so overpraised in the aftermath of District 9, and if anything good is to come from Elysium, hopefully it'll
takes Blomkamp down a notch.
Yeah, it'll take him down a notch, and Blomkamp will kind of stop believing in his own greatness because he made a bad film. There's no two ways about it. I mean, would I love it if Neill Blomkamp directed Star Trek 3? Absolutely. If he would bring his talents to bear on Star Trek, that'd be great. But here, I mean, again, he just made a movie that doesn't have a subtle bone in its body, and ultimately it sinks it because of that. So I look forward to seeing what he does next, but Elysium was a disappointment. There's no question about it. So 6 out of 10 for me.
Yeah. I'm surprised you went that high. I'm at a 6 also. I kind of just feel like nothing.
So you guys think this is a better than average movie?
Yeah, I think it's above average. I mean, we get a villain from Sharlto Copley. I think the Alice Braga character was pretty good. I had serious problems with the fact that she could do absolutely nothing without Matt Damon. But that aside, I mean, seriously, she's put in situations where it's like, okay, maybe like
she's the film's gender politics, despite the fact that the film takes place in the future. The film's gender politics are behind the times.
Right, only men can fight, not women. Women are worthless.
So
Jodie Foster's head of security.
This is true.
I feel like nothing from it. Like, I'm not going to watch it again, even if it's on TV or Netflix. There's really not much from it that I want to see again, other than like the weapon technology.
Right.
So other than that, man, I just it's kind of nothing to me. I do think it is above average, but it's not saying a whole lot.
Okay.
So a 6 for me.
Kat?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. I give it a 6 as well. I mean, I wanted to like this movie, but there just wasn't that much happening in it for me to like. And I think that why it's getting such bad reviews is that this movie was on a pedestal. I mean, like we talked about, District 9 was amazing. Like, that was a hole-in-one. It was fantastic. And then to go to this that is just unimaginative and follows the exact format that tons of other movies have followed. And you were expecting, like, the whole last 40 minutes, you basically could call exactly what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure the script was like pulled out of like a machine that gives you like basically comes up with like a plot generator. Yeah,
but I mean the art direction was great. Elysium looked fantastic. The ships were cool. The weapons were really neat. Kruger was good as well. I mean, Matt Damon was decent, but he's just not believable as a badass. And every scene Jodie Foster was in, like, if she had just been mute or something and like signed it would have been better, because she looked great. She looked, she's looking good for an older lady.
Yeah,
but
she certainly had that Hillary Clinton look going for her.
Yeah, she opened her mouth and I was just like, oh my God, really?
It's the worst ever.
And she's in it a lot, like a lot.
She
she's in it every, 10, 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then she gets stabbed in the fucking neck and she's gone forever.
And everyone's like, woo!
even she's like, no more. I'm dead.
That was the I laughed. I felt bad, but I laughed at that scene because like she like says no more.
And what the fuck?
Like,
So, these people that live on Elysium, like, I think it's hinted at that they have prolonged life, and like since they're rid of disease and everything, they see. I would assume that they think that they're like invincible and that they would grasp on to life if they were ever faced with a deathly situation. And she's just like, no, it's my time.
Yeah, but she's a traitor, right? And there's no way she's going to get out of this at this point without being realized as a traitor.
I guess I didn't get that, but. Whatever.
But yeah, overall, not the best. I mean, my number 5, if we could roll the dice, it'd been it'd been a 4. Go on a Tuesday, like, go on a cheap night and see it.
Right. No, I couldn't agree more.
I don't even know if I can say that. I mean, I was pretty disappointed by it.
Yeah, I'm so glad I didn't spend the $14 or whatever for IMAX. So
yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, in this film, I mean, was it in 3D or not?
No, just regular,
no, yeah,
non 3D IMAX.
Yeah, well, not even regular 3D though. It was
right. It wasn't in 3D at all.
One thing I was curious about, but also, guys, kind of as the show kind of comes to a close here, but I think that Elysium kind of is emblematic of this whole summer. Because I feel like it's been one film after the other that's just been disappointing, or hasn't been as good as we thought it would be.
Especially for sci-fi films.
Yeah, exactly. But you watch a film like Man of Steel that is a good movie, but I think a lot of people thought it would be even better than it was.
Sure.
Iron Man 3, the same thing could be said for that film. So I feel like with Oblivion. With Elysium, I feel like it really is emblematic of the whole summer.
Yeah.
So hopefully Kick-Ass 2 can deliver some thrills and maybe help us end things.
Is that next week?
I don't know. It's coming up soon either way, so hopefully that can kind of help us end things on a good note, but we'll see.
Are we done with this one?
I think so.
Yep.
Hey, Kat, thanks for doing it with us.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's too bad it wasn't a better movie.
We'll have to have you on for a good movie one
I'm
of these
always on the
times.
shitty movies.
At least Jack Reacher was good, and we've just kind of been going downhill from there.
Jack Reacher was good. What
Yeah,
I like Jack Reacher.
Only Steve. Me and Kat didn't like Jack Reacher.
Yeah.
Only Steve did.
I don't know what you're talking about. So.
Yeah, Neil, you were not on that episode.
There.
But no, well, Kat, I guess that is a good point. You are 0 for 3 at this point.
All right, one last thing before we go here. To anyone that may be attending Gen Con
in Indianapolis
this
weekend,
the best 4 days of gaming, I'd love to meet any of our fans that may be out there.
Come say hi.
Exactly.
So that's the 16th through the 18th.
Correct. I will not be there Thursday for any of you that may be there Thursday.
Also, we should bring up that we backed the Appleseed Comics and Art Convention 2014. It isn't until next May, but the Kickstarter ends at the end of this month.
Correct. It is a comic book convention located here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. trying to expand a little bit. Need some help to make sure they can fund that second day. So they have a bit of extra money in the Midwest. We're looking to get involved with it. So stay tuned for more news on that, and back it if you can on Kickstarter.
Yeah, so check out the Appleseed Comics and Art Convention on Kickstarter.
Also, we've got a fantasy football league. Check it out if you're interested. We've got some spots still open.
It's called Oops All Football.
Exactly.
So you can't
on the
miss it.
Yahoo.
Is that it?
Yep, we're done.
Email us at oopsallmovies@gmail.com. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/oopsallmovies. And follow us on Twitter at oopsallmovies. Neil is at Astronaut on Twitter. And Steve is at Steve Clarkbar. And I'm at Joe Woody. And Kat?
I'm at Kat_Jovey.
Until next time.
Get smurfed.
Bye.